let's explore these partnerships and what do I mean and how do we get there? And how do we create them? How do we build them? And how do we sustain them? And I think that at the core of all these relationships are a sense of trust. And in order to get to that trust, several steps have to be taken. For all of us to enter in a discussion about heritage, but not just discussion, action to heritage, we need to trust our partners. We need to trust that their intentions are honorable and that they have to trust us that our intentions are honorable and that we need to work through any prejudice or stereotypes or assumptions, which are everywhere, about why we're coming to this heritage table. So, where do we start? One is it's absolutely essential that we each know about each other's narrative. What did I learn? From who did I learn it? What is it based on? This is never mind just knowledge. My emotional, visceral response is key to how I approach Polish Jewish heritage. I may have no connection to a place in Poland, but if I learned about it, for example, something that happened during the war, I will associate it and I will impose certain understandings of the place, the people, the time. I need to know the story. And my partners, and I'm delighted to partner with Tayat NN and Rama Grotsko all the time, I need to know theirs too. We are clearly connected, and not just us, because I'm proud that we all have additional partners. But the closer that we work together, the more effective that we will be, and we will be able to answer some very difficult questions. So, one, my primary role here is to, of course, direct the Toby Center, which has many publications which deal with heritage and telling stories, field guides, timeline, the Toby Jewish Heritage Talks series, which really brings a lot of issues to the fore with scholars from around the world. And also, when the pandemic allows and safe travel returns, is to help groups, individuals and groups, to visit Poland. Not to see it, but to really visit. And so one of the challenges of getting beyond the stereotypes is very much part of the work we do with groups. And I'm not saying everyone has an assumption, and of course, those who come with their own family histories, there's great respect and honor and understanding. We are now 90 years away from the interwar period, if I do my math correctly. We're a generation where this is almost it's ancient history. And yet, if we look at how Jews appreciate their history, we have to understand that memory is very, very important to today. And for example, when we light Shabbat candles, and when we say the blessing, the kiddush, the blessing over the wine, we have two verbs. Lishmor, to guard, and liskor is to remember. So heritage is somewhere between memory, between to remember and to guard. But if we guard it too closely, we don't allow others in. And if we don't take care of it well enough, it will disappear. So part of this partnership has to understand that we all value remembering, preserving. We also have to value what is the narrative we want to share with others. Now, my story is going to be different than other people's stories, but they should take into account the fact that there are other stories. If the story is completely erroneous, which it might be, then it has to be dissected. It has to be understood. Why did we get to this point where this is not a fact? Or someone is using certain facts to create a whole new narrative of heroism, victimhood, personal, communal, national. So how do we one, learning each other's narratives. Two, talking about what we've learned, discussing the painful points. What do I think? What have I heard? What do you know? Three, why am I in this? Why do I want to contribute to the preservation or transmission of heritage? Why do you? We also want to find a common language. Meaning, I have to understand culture and tradition enough to understand, for example, like I said before, a Jewish cemetery does not disappear after 100 years. That's important information if you're involved in the preservation of material Jewish heritage in Poland. For example, I have to understand that there are certain non Jewish, Christian, Catholic, Muslim traditions that I have to be aware of to understand why sites and memory are as they are. So it's going beyond those first four steps, engaging others, really reaching out and saying, I'd like you to partner with me. What do you do? What do I do? And how do we do this together? And in creating that safe, I would say safe space, um, space for these conversations, but not only conversations, space to create action that we all feel we own and can be part of, that we each have a role. I think we all know that without a feeling of ownership, as we talked about before, we don't have a sense of we have to do something. It's not just we want it to be, heritage should be a privilege and a responsibility. So that if we create sensitive narratives, not whitewashing, not ignoring, but actually saying, look, guys, we're about to come to X. This is what happened. This is where we are today. Then we're on the right track of actually moving forward with preserving and transmitting Polish Jewish heritage. I know that many people come with a very closed view of what they expect to see in Poland. And those would be the 6 death camps that were built by the Nazi Germans, the remains of ghettos, and so forth. Part of our job in Poland is made harder by communal memory. And while we honor it, our job is really to help people say Kaddish, to say the prayer one says during the morning process, which affirms life, to memorialize, to learn, and then to move forward. I think in Poland, it was a blessing and a curse. The curse is that we are living in the country geographically in which the death camps are found, which the ghettos were built mainly, where the killing sites were many, not only here, of course, but many. And yet, those of us in this work together as partners really have gained invaluable knowledge, of course, but an invaluable sensitivity to space and time. And I think we can be helpful. I think heritage can be very helpful in a healing process. And for example, as even cleaning a matzeva doesn't have to be your family. It doesn't have to be someone you know, but you're doing, first of all, a mitzvah, but you're also doing something concrete and tangible for tangible heritage. If one leaves a stone at a memorial, it's a significant piece. If one understands that there are those who left these terrifying sites after the war and survived, then we have to celebrate those survivors. And heritage should not be only a symbol of the past of death. Sometimes people died and they should be mourned as they should be. Sometimes they were murdered. It should be a symbol of life. So, a Jewish cemetery is called a Beit Chaim, a house of life. And it's a kind of a strange concept. But if you look at it, that we are celebrating the lives of those people who once lived, Then we're celebrating culture, tradition, knowledge, science, um, anthropology, ethnology, everything. So let's to recap. In order for us to put in place good guidelines, or I would say best practices for working together on Polish Jewish heritage, is one, learning the narratives. Even if we think we don't agree, we need to know what we don't agree with. Two, coming together to talk about what those narratives mean and why I may think this or this. Understanding that within the parameters of truth, how do we tell that narrative? If we are going to be sensitive and create accessibility, then we will succeed. And accessibility means accessible to the truth, to the sites, to the spaces, to people who know, to resources, and to different options. I mean, Brahmagrodska has its own way, amazing way of preserving and promoting Jewish life and heritage in Lublin and in the surrounding areas. There are people who are working in woods. There are people who are working in schools. There are people who are taking it on all by themselves with no other support. So part of that access means acknowledging, supporting, and introducing our visitors who can be very skeptical. Why are they doing this? Who's they? They is us. So instead of saying they are doing it, is we are doing it as organizations, as individuals, as Jews and non-Jews, because we believe that this heritage is essential to who we were, who we are, and who we might be.